So today's lesson, our first, is over one-step equations, solving them. As a reminder, a variable are the letters that are used to represent numbers in algebra, and a coefficient, these are the numbers in front of the variables. So if I gave you the example 4x, x is the variable, and 4 is the coefficient, okay? So when we get ready to solve these problems, let me remind you, there are 4 simple steps. Find the variable you want to isolate it. Then you're going to use the inverse operations to move the number or numbers to the other side of the equation, either right to left or left to right. Then you can check your solution. It's very simple. Let's remember what inverse operations are. Addition is the inverse operation of subtraction. Sometimes people say addition will undo subtraction and vice versa. Also, multiplication is the inverse operation of division. They undo each other, okay? So let's do a couple of examples so you can get a feel for this. You notice there are quite a few examples on here. We will not do all of them on this video, but they will be there available for you to practice on. If you have a way to print out your notes so you can actually write on them before you start watching the video, that would be great. So if you'd like to print out your, pause now and print out your notes, you may. If not, you can write on notebook paper. I would also suggest, as I said in the syllabus, is you have either a 3-ring binder and some notebook paper, or a tablet, a spiral, a large one you can use for this class and this class only to take notes in. The wonderful thing about being at home is, because I cannot monitor you at your homes, when we have quizzes and tests, you are able to use your notes at home. So if you take them, you have them. If you don't take them, well, you understand. So let's take a look at this first problem. This is a one-step problem. We have x plus 7 equal -1. So in order to get x isolated, we have to move the what? Right, the 7. It is being added on the left side, so to move it, we must subtract it. So let's do that. I will go -7 on the left, and whatever you do on the left, remember you always have to do on the right, and I go -7. These cancel, bring down the x, equals -1 plus -7. Remember, we add going down, that's -8. Forgive me, that kind of ran together, but that's -8. Box in your answers, even when you do homework, and you might have to send me a picture of the work, because the work you do online might be on a Google form where you just click an answer, but you will have to do your work on paper and send it to me. So when you do, make sure you work neatly, neater than Miss Norman, and box in your answers so you can take a picture of that and send me all that in one pic. Let's take a look at number 2. Now number 2 is m minus 11 equal -9. We see the variable m, we want to get it by itself. So we have to do what? That's right, add 11 to both sides. So I'm going to go plus 11 on the left, and I'm going to go plus 11 on the right, excuse me. These cancel because -11 plus 11, we know that's 0. So the m comes down, the variable m comes down. -9 plus 11, that is going to be 2. So that's your answer. If you want to check it and plug the 2 back in, 2 minus 11 is -9. I'd like you to practice on some of these other 4 problems right here. Okay, they're very simple. Notice on number 5 right here, let me move the screen up a little bit so you can see it better. Look at number 5. Notice your variable is on the right side. If you remember back in algebra, back in 8th grade, a lot of times we like the variable to be on the left. It doesn't matter. As long as it's isolated on the side it's on, you can leave it on the right, okay? So we want k by itself. It has a -8. So to move that, we need to do what? Right. Add the 8 to both sides. We know the -8 and +8 cancel, bringing down a k on the right. 21, -21, excuse me, -21 plus 8, what is that going to be? Right, that's going to be 13, but is it positive or negative? You're right, it's going to be -13 because my larger number is negative. Very simple, so k equals -13. So this is using addition and subtraction to solve one-step problems. Now we're gonna do the second part, and we're gonna use multiplication division to solve one-step problems. Okay, let's take a look. We're gonna solve each equation. Look at the first one. We have 4a equals negative 24. 4 and a are side by side. That means they're being multiplied. When a coefficient and a variable are next to each other with no symbol in between, like a minus or a plus, they are being multiplied. So, how do I undo multiplication? I divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by the coefficient, which is 4. I must do it on both sides. Please excuse, that's one of the bells ringing here at school right now, getting us ready for school on Tuesday. So the 4 cancels. I have a equals negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6. And that's your answer. And that is an equal sign. Let's take a look at it. So I want you to practice on number 8. It's just like that one. The variable is just on the opposite side of the equation, and that's okay. We know that. Okay, take a look at number 9. Now this is a division problem. I have n over 5 equals 9. Now let me ask you, what's another way to write this problem? I want you to always remember that when you have a variable, whatever it might be, if there's no number in front of it, there's an understood 1. So that's 1n over 5, or you may say 1, excuse me guys, or you could say 1/5 x equals 9. Okay? Now, remember you were dividing by that 5 right here. So how do you undo a division? You multiply. So you multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to write that over here. You're going to multiply by reciprocal. That's the, or some people say the flip of the fraction. Okay? And that's not an H. Please know that's an I, a L, and an I. Okay, kind of hooked together. So, what is the flip of this? You're right, it's 5 over 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 over 1. And this is going to be 5 over 1. Okay? What happens here? These cancel. And I have an x remaining. That equals 9 times 5, that's 45. Okay? Try number 10. You may pause the video. Okay guys, let's come back and take a look at number 11 right quick. Number 11, we have negative k equals 7. So my question to you is, what's my understood number in front of that k? You're right, it's a negative 1. We know there's a 1 right here. Okay? So I'm multiplying negative 1 times k, so to undo multiplying, I divide. So if I divide by negative 1, I do it on the left, I do it on the right. The negative 1's cancel, and I have k equals negative 7. Because 7 divided by negative 1 is negative 7. Okay? So remember, when there's no number in front, we know it is a 1, in this case a negative 1, because we have a negative k, negative 1k. Divide by that number, k comes down, the sign on the other number changes. Okay? So I want you to try number 10 and 12. Okay? Now, the next section, 13 through 20, is just a mixed practice of everything we've done above. You have some problems that deal with addition, some deal with subtraction, multiplication, some division. So these are more problems for you to practice on to make sure you got this down. You need to know this before we go to our next part of the notes today. We're going to solve two-step equations. please look at the format of them. You're gonna have an X term plus a number equals another number. You're going to move the numbers to one side, then divide by the coefficient with the X. Let's look at one. Same process. So here I have 9a minus 2 equals negative 65. So first thing I want to do is get the 9a by itself. So I want to move the negative 2, because it says right here. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to put back on add notes. Let's try that. Right here it tells us we want to do the addition and subtraction first. That's the second step. So I want to move that 2 before I try to divide by anything. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. That cancels, and what comes down? 9a. Negative 65 plus 2? Right, negative 63. Some of you guys are using your mental math. I'm absolutely loving it and everything. You work a muscle, it gets bigger and better. And that's what that brain is. So I want to get a by itself. That's the second step. It says what? Now undo the multiplication or division. So I want to get rid of the 9. So it's being multiplied by the 8, so what do? I divide. 9's cancel. A equals negative 7. Because negative 63 divided by 9 is negative 7. Let's try one more. Let's look at number 4. Okay, let's look at number 4. We have 8 equals 23 minus 5w. We want to initially move what's being added or subtracted on the side with the variable. So I have a 23 over here on the side with the 5w. So I want to move it to be with its like term, the 8, on the left side. It is positive. We don't look at the symbol in the back. We look at what's in front. So I know that 23 is positive. So to move it, I've got to subtract it on both sides. Cancel. 8 minus 23. Let's think about that. Take away 3, take away 5, that gives us 15. And it's going to be negative 15 because the 23 is the larger the number and its sign is negative. And that's going to be equals negative 5w. So it's like step 2 said, we got rid of the addition and subtraction. We undid that first. Now we're going to undo the multiplication or the division. Negative 5 is being multiplied by w. Let's undo that. Negative 5, negative 5. Cancels. W equals 3. And it's okay if the w is on the other side. You could say 3 equals w. That's perfectly okay. All right? I want you to try number 5 for practice. I'm going to do number 3 so you'll have an example of that. It's going to be like number 6. This one involves addition and multiplication as opposed to subtraction and division and undoing multiplication. Here we're going to undo division right here. So here, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Right, add 11. These 11s cancel. What comes down? K divided by 3 equals negative 5 plus 11, right? That's 6. Now I have a division problem. To undo that, I have to multiply. So I multiply both sides by 3 over what? 1, that's right. Or once you get this down, you'll just know to multiply both sides by 3 with the numbers on the bottom. These cancel. It leaves me K equals 18. Now I want you to work with number 5 and 6 as practice. You may do them now and pause, or you may do them later. We're not going to worry about this section right here. Actually, I want to do one more example right here. Let's look at number 12, okay? Look at number 12. So as we look at this problem, we see we have 2/3 x minus 7 plus equals 5. So what should we do first? Right, we want to move the 7. So I'm going to add 7. I'm going to go back to this side since I am right-handed. We're going to add 7 to both sides. So what comes down? You're right, it's 2/3 x equals 5 plus 7, 12. Okay? Now remember, we now multiply by what? Remember that word we use, the R word? The reciprocal. That's right. Multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/3 is what? That's right. 3/2. And you're going to multiply both sides by that. Okay? So over here we know this cancels. Perfect. We have x equals, okay? The easy way to do this, your whole number times your numerator, that's the top number, multiply and then add the bottom. So that's divide by the bottom. I apologize, guys. Whole number times the top, then divide by the bottom, okay? So I have 12 times 3, that's 36. 36 divided by 2, that's going to be what? Right, 18. There's a lot of 18s today. So x equals 18. So you multiply here by the reciprocal, and we actually, instead of having just a number on the bottom and the variable on top, like x/3, we have 2/3 x. So that reciprocal is 3/2. That's going to be used here and here on 13 and 14. Okay? I'm going to pause the video for just a moment and come right back.